Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking an absolutely fascinating piece of history, uncovering the story of a true pioneer in global healthcare. We're talking about Dr. Ida Scudder, a woman whose name became literally synonymous with the transformation of women's healthcare in India. If you love stories about individuals who look at a massive, seemingly impossible problem and just decide to solve it by building something incredible from the ground up, this explainer is going to completely captivate you. We're going to look closely at how one single person's vision resulted in one of Asia's most respected medical institutions.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to genuinely think about this for a second. What would you do if a single tragic night changed the entire trajectory of your life? We all have plans, right? We all have our little ideas about how our lives are going to pan out. But sometimes an event happens that is so profound, it just completely shatters those plans and sets you on a path you never saw coming. For Ida Scudder, this isn't just a philosophical question. It is the exact inciting incident of her entire legacy. Section 1. The Reluctant Missionary. So, born in 1870 in Ranipet, India, to American medical missionary parents, Ida Sophia Scudder initially wanted absolutely no part of her family's line of work. Having spent a good chunk of her youth in the United States, she just wanted a comfortable, normal life in America. She grew up surrounded by the intense, honestly grueling reality of missionary work in India, and she entirely subverted her family's expectations by wanting to avoid those exhausting conditions altogether. She had her own plans, for sure.
Section 2. One Tragic Night.
Let's set the scene. In 1890, 20-year-old Ida traveled back to India simply to care for her mother who had fallen seriously ill. She was literally just visiting. But to grasp the sheer gravity of what happened next, we really have to understand the reality of 19th century India. During this era, strict cultural and religious customs dictated that women simply could not be treated by male physicians. This wasn't just a slight preference, it was a rigid, unbreakable societal rule. Even in matters of life and death, even during complicated, life-threatening childbirth, families would adamantly refuse to let a male doctor into the room. This cultural barrier meant that millions of women were entirely cut off from qualified medical care. Which brings us to a really heavy number here. 3. On one single, fateful evening in 1890, while Ida was tending to her sick mother, there was a knock at the door. A man was begging for help because his wife was in a very difficult labor. But here's the catch. He flat out refused to let Ida's father, a trained doctor, treat her. He only wanted Ida. But Ida wasn't a doctor. She had zero medical training and could do absolutely nothing to help. Later that same night, a second man came with the exact same heartbreaking plea. And then, incredibly, a third. 3 different men, 3 different wives in complicated labor, all refusing male medical intervention. Ida could only watch them leave into the night. By the very next morning, Ida learned the devastating truth. All 3 of those young women had died. Section 3. Answering the call. The emotional weight of that morning literally broke her. But, it also completely rebuilt her. She made a fierce vow right then and there that Indian women would never again have to die simply because there wasn't a female physician available to treat them. And her execution? It was flawless and immediate. After that defining tragic night in 1890, she abandons her dreams of a comfy American life, heads back to the U.S., and gets to work. By 1899, she graduates with a medical degree from Cornell University Medical College. Keep in mind, this is the late 19th century. Very few women were entering medicine at all, making this an extraordinary achievement on its own. Armed with her degree and this deep, unshakable conviction, she doesn't waste a single minute. By 1900, she is right back in Vellore, India, opening her very first medical clinic. Section 4. Building a medical empire. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how she begins to scale her entire mission. See, she didn't just become a doctor, she became the architect of a massive healthcare system. When Dr. Scudder opened her small clinic in Vellore, the response was instantaneous. They were completely overwhelmed. Patients arrived in staggering numbers. We're talking mothers, infants, surgical patients, people suffering from infectious diseases, and they came from every single social class and religious background. Her reputation for incredible skill and absolute compassion spread like wildfire across southern India. Looking at the sheer volume of suffering, Dr. Scudder quickly came to a pretty sobering realization. One doctor, no matter how dedicated, could never physically meet India's enormous healthcare needs. So she decided to multiply herself. It starts in 1900 with that small dispensary. But seeing the immense need, she expands. By 1909, she establishes a nursing school to train others. By 1918, she takes an enormous leap and founds a medical school specifically for women. And finally, this compounding effort blossoms into the Christian Medical College, or CMC Vellore. What started as a single-room dispensary literally evolved into an institution that eventually admitted both women and men, becoming one of Asia's absolute premier leading medical universities. And this brilliantly illustrates her incredible dedication to the most vulnerable. Throughout this massive expansion, Dr. Scudder didn't just build a generic hospital. She became a ferocious champion for women who lacked access to care. Her special focus areas really drove the curriculum: maternal health, ensuring safe childbirth, expanding women's medical education, bringing care directly to rural areas, and pushing preventative medicine. Because of this targeted focus, thousands of women physicians and nurses were educated through her institutions, creating an entire army of healthcare providers for India's most underserved populations.
Section 5. Faith and Medicine.
To truly grasp how she maintained this unbelievable work ethic for decades, we've got to look at her motivations. She viewed medicine as a direct expression of her Christian faith. She operated on the fundamental belief that every single patient, regardless of who they were, reflected the image of God. Her daily work seamlessly blended world-class medical excellence with profound, boundless compassion. Now, she integrated prayer and evangelism into her practice, but importantly, this was always paired with a deep respect for every individual who walked through her doors, completely regardless of their own religion or social status. Everyone, and I mean everyone, received the exact same impeccable standard of care. This quote really captures her philosophy perfectly. Never lose sight of the fact that you are first a missionary and second a doctor. For her, the surgical skills, the massive hospital administration, the medical breakthroughs, all of it was secondary to the primary goal of showing ultimate compassion and fulfilling what she saw as her life's calling.
Section 6. A lasting legacy.
Dr. Ida Scudder passed away on May 24, 1960, at the age of 89. She had dedicated more than 60 years of her life to serving the people of India. And honestly, perhaps the greatest testament to her life's work was her funeral. It was attended by a massive crowd of people from countless different religious, cultural, and social backgrounds. Medical leaders from all over the world who had actually visited Vellore to study her innovative work mourned her passing. She touched millions of lives directly and indirectly, and her influence refused to be contained just to Vellore, as she became one of the world's most globally respected medical missionaries. When we step back and look at the source material of her life, there are some really incredible takeaways for all of us. First, one single tragic experience, that heartbreaking night in 1890, can become the spark for a lifelong, world-changing calling. Second, compassion is great, but professional excellence and competence, combined with that compassion, that is an incredibly powerful tool for change. And finally, you cannot solve massive problems alone. Educating and empowering others is really the only way to truly multiply your impact.
So the crucial point is summarized beautifully in another of her famous quotes. The first thing is to make yourself fit for your work. She didn't just rely on her good intentions to honor those three women's memories, right? She went to Cornell. She put in the grueling hours to become a highly skilled surgeon. She made herself fit for the massive work that lay ahead.
Which leaves us with this final thought to reflect on today. Looking at Dr. Scudder's monumental legacy, ask yourself, how can you use your own skills to transform your community? What is the problem right in front of you that you can become fit to solve? Dr. Ida Scudder showed us that a single person's dedication can literally change the course of history for generations. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparks some incredible ideas for your own path forward.